Not only did we get some amazing lore drops during this episode, but we also got some great and nostalgic action to go along with it. Welcome back to Nerdstorm Entertainment, everybody. If this is your first time here, I am Nerdstorm92, back with another Dragon Ball Daima review video. And in today's video, we are going to be discussing Dragon Ball Daima episode 15 titled Third Eye. But before we get started, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and then ring the bell to receive notifications so that way you know every time I happen to upload a video. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the episode pretty much starts off exactly where we left off from last time, with Goma getting upset and then him ordering that full-on attack on the group as they're trying to flee away after their ship crashed. And as we can see, the Genda Marie are just relentlessly firing on the group, so much so to the point to where they actually end up having to hide. And even though most of the group is hiding and trying to shoot from behind cover, Goku attempts to actually get out there and do something, but he ends up getting shot in the back. But then Glorio tells him that if they get a direct shot on you, it will incapacitate you. So he has to be careful out there. And obviously this angers Goku, and we rarely get to see Goku this mad when he's really about to call somebody names. So if you get Goku to this point, then you really know you done messed up. And at that point, Goku starts to use the power pole to actually attack some of the Genda Marie ships, but he realizes there's no end to them and they continuously come. And then of course, the saltiest anime character of all time ends up getting mad and thinks that he can take them out on his own just because he's the Prince of all Saiyans, right? So obviously he hops in, he starts to do a little something by firing a few key blasts here and there, but it's to no end, and he gets mollywopped by this other ship that appears after he takes one out. And he ends up just like Goku, if not worse. And then of course, Goku ends up running up to him, asking him if he's okay. And then Vegeta finally caves in and asks Goku for one of the revive bugs, which Vegeta ends up taking. And obviously he's fully restored at that point, even though he reluctantly took it. And as Goku and Vegeta are trying to assess the situation after that point, they realize that dealing with the Genda Marie in this particular type of situation is very difficult in children's bodies. So it's safe to assume that even though they're still able to power up to their most powerful forms, both of them being Super Saiyan 3s at this point, even though that didn't happen in this episode, it is still difficult to be powerful enough to even deal with an army like this. Because obviously if they were in their adult bodies and at their full power, they could handle this fairly easily, even in their base forms. So again, yes, they can transform up to these powerful forms, but they are not as strong as they would be if they were adults. It's at that point that we go over to Goma and we see that he's actually happy about the entire situation. And we can see that he's actually scanning over each person within the group, looking at them and seeing exactly who they are. He notices Piccolo, he sees Pansy, and then he notices Hypas. And he sees something very peculiar about Hypas. And obviously it's his belt. And it's at that point that he realizes that Hypas actually has the evil third eye on his belt. Yes, the legendary Tertian Oculus. And then we're right back into the action with the Genda Marie firing on Goku. He's taking them out one at a time with the power pole and even some of the ships. And we get to see a lot of the other group in action, like Glorio and Pansy and Piccolo firing on the Genda Marie. And it's at that point that the Genda Marie are just terrified at that point because pretty much all of their ships have gotten taken out. So they begin to scatter and the group is safe for the time being. It's at that point that Glorio tells them that the last Tamagami is at Goma's castle and they head towards Goma's castle. We then pan over what seems to be some form of military base, which we come to find out is the Genda Marie base. And we happen to see a high-ranking Genda Marie guard there. And all of this is very, very reminiscent of the Red Ribbon Army. Yes, this entire episode gave very, very nostalgic vibes to it. It really made me feel as if I was watching the Red Ribbon Army arc from original Dragon Ball. And I know a lot of people out there are not going to be keen to this episode or even keen to Dragon Ball in general. But if you're an actual Dragon Ball fan, if you actually love the material, then you would have fell in love with this episode. You would have actually enjoyed what this episode brought to us. And I am very much appreciative of the fact that we got this nice callback to the Red Ribbon Army arc. Yes, we've gotten some callbacks just like in Dragon Ball Superhero, but again, this was a callback to the action of the Red Ribbon Army arc, an entire army fighting Goku and his friend. So like I said, that particular Genda Marie officer actually notices the group flying towards them, and he begins to warn the entire base. Then we head back to Goma and Dagetsu looking at the third eye. And Goma says the last time that he saw it was very long ago with King Abora, which again is Dobora's father. And Supreme King Abora had it on his forehead. Goma knows this is definitely the third eye because it's a spitting image of the third eye that he remembers. And it's at this point that we begin to see something in Dagetsu that I've kind of speculated this entire time, is that we get to see a bit of deceit showing up within Dagetsu. He's not necessarily trusting Goma or not necessarily seeing his full vision. Obviously, Dagetsu has his own plans behind the scenes that we have yet to see. Because for the entirety of Dragon Ball Daima so far, we've seen Dagetsu going full on with Goma. He's been his right-hand man for sure, with no signs of deceit. But obviously, Dagetsu makes this side-eye remark saying, don't all eyes look alike? And again, that is the beginning of it all, as you will definitely see later. And then Goma tasks Dagetsu with grabbing the third eye for him, and he doesn't want anybody to notice. And I think something that also adds on to the fact that Dagetsu is beginning to not trust Goma, if you will, is the fact that Dagetsu asks him how is he supposed to do that with all of this happening. But Goma says, you're smart, aren't you? Figure it out. Not necessarily the best remark that you want to give to your right-hand man. And at that point, we get a flashback of a lot of lore that is getting ready to drop. And I wasn't necessarily too keen on how they did this, as far as just stopping the episode right in the middle of it to give us this lore, but I did appreciate the lore. So during this entire section, we're getting an explanation of what the third eye is. And again, the third eye sits on the forehead of the current Supreme Demon King. And as this is going on, we see flashes of previous Supreme Demon Kings, which I hope at some point in the future, whether it be a manga or even an anime, if you will, that we get some type of fleshed out story for some of these Supreme Demon Kings, because we can actually see a good bit of detail of what they look like within these silhouettes. But again, the third eye gives them power and authority to reign over the demon realm. It is a symbol of the Supreme Demon King, and it possesses terrifying magic power. And obviously, when they wear it on their forehead, they are imbued with this terrifyingly unbelievable magic. And it is said they are capable of wielding unworldly power. But during Supreme Demon King Abora's reign, somebody stole it. And you'll never guess who that somebody was. That somebody was actually Dobora, his son. Yes, his son was the reason why the third eye ended up lost in the first place, because Dobora hatched this plan to actually steal it from his father so that way he could become Supreme Demon King. Obviously, he tasked one of his subordinates, more than likely, to actually go and steal it while he distracted the guards. And then he told him once he steals it to head to the third demon world where it will be hard to find him and the evil third eye. So Dobora gives him the key to the lockbox. And obviously, as Dobora is distracting the guards, his subordinate steals the third eye and the alarms are going off and everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. But they end up chasing his subordinate out of the first demon world, and while in the second demon world, they lose him and then he escapes to the third. While resting in the third demon world, he ends up getting startled by some form of ogre. The ogre one-hits this man and the evil third eye is lost because Dobora is trying to contact him, but the guy just steps on the device and it's a wrap at that point. But does Dobora care? No, he doesn't, because the whole point was to take power away from his father. So of course this man is going to sit here and take the opportunity and be happy at the opportunity that's given to him. And of course he obtains the throne at that point, and Dobora becomes Supreme Demon King. Even without the third eye, nobody is going to attest him until he gets taken over by Babidi to help him revive Majin Buu, but then he ends up getting killed by Majin Buu. So it was all for nothing. Now, it's not stated how long his reign was, but we can assume that his reign was fairly long, especially within Demon World standards, because Goma had said that the third eye was lost long ago. And obviously, once Dobora was eaten by Buu, Goma rose to become Supreme Demon King easily, because obviously he was Vice Supreme Demon King. Now, why is that a thing? I don't know. But again, he rose to become Supreme Demon King, and that's how Daima started at that point. Obviously, after some time, Hyvis walked up on the third eye. He found it out in the wilderness as he was hunting, and he just plopped it on his belt. And then that's how we kind of segue back into the main story. Again, I wasn't necessarily too keen on how they did this as far as just cutting in the middle of the story and going into this lore, but I am appreciative of the lore. I just wish they had done it a little bit better as far as making it a little bit more smooth. But again, we're back with the group. They are arriving at Goma's castle, if you will, or technically at the military base outside of Goma's castle. And the Gendarmerie see them and they start attacking the group. And they're going off, just firing on them left and right. The group is trying to escape, but they can't. So they end up hiding. And then Goku asked Neva, since he was able to create the shields to stop people from going to and from the first, second, and third demon worlds, why can't he just make a shield and protect the group so that way they can get into the Tamagami? But Neva's like, nah, I don't feel like it. I'm just an old man and all I'm doing here is to help you with your wish, little boy. Figure it out yourselves. And then funny enough, we pan over to Hybis, and I thought this was so funny because what I believe, or who I believe, is actually Dagetsu in disguise. This demon girl, if you will, comes up to Hybis and says, ooh, your belt is very pretty. And Hybis like, I know, it's my favorite. And we all know how ditzy Hybis is. I just love how like absent-minded this man is. It's so funny. It's so great. I love it. He's so cute. But seemingly again, who's Dagetsu sits there and says, I like your belt a lot. It's really cute. If you give it to me, I'll give you a kiss. And then crazy, this man Hybis sit there and said, don't be stupid. I don't want that. Oh my God. And then Dagetsu is disgusted at the fact that he got rejected. Oh my God. And funny enough, this man Hybis sits there and says, I'll trade it for that hat. And Dagetsu is just lost. He's like, the hat? This is what you wanted? So they sit there and trade, and we can see Hybis just sitting there just happy as ever that he got the hat. And again, Dagetsu is like, this went well, but I'm insulted. That's crazy. Oh, I love that bit. Again, Daima's comedy is amazing. I love it. Again, it's classic Toriyama. If you're a Toriyama fan, then you're gonna love all this that he's putting out. You're gonna love Daima because again, it's classic Toriyama. But back on the action, again, the Gendarmerie is firing on the group and Piccolo's thinking about just running out there because he has the ability to regenerate, but Neva tells him that's not a good idea because if they hit a vital spot, it'll definitely be over. And Pansy mentions to them that those guns that the Gendarmerie are using are capable of shooting for 10 days at minimum. So it's not a good idea to even attempt that. So we take a quick pause on the action and head over to Orensu, and we see Majin Buu and Ku just sitting there sleeping. These guys are literally some of my favorites within this anime. And we see Orensu just loving the fact that her plans are coming to fruition. I feel as if she knew all of this was going to happen, or at the very least had an inkling that all of this is going to happen, because everything is going according to her plan. And then we head back to the group being attacked by the Gendarmerie, and they're attempting to try and take out the soldiers as best as they can. And they're actually doing a fairly good job because Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo are sitting there defending the rest of the group. But sadly, at that point, the Gendarmerie pulls out all the stops and they bring out the tanks. And these tanks are dangerous. We can see that same Gendarmerie officer telling the tanks to fire on the group, and once they do, Goku, Piccolo, and Vegeta are almost taken out completely. Goku says his body feels dumb, and then they're getting ready to get shot on again. And at that point, one of the tanks just happens to blow up. And then we pan up to see a bunch of some grenades that look like they're from the World War II era, but obviously with the aesthetic of Dragon Ball Daima and the Demon World on them. And they blow up most of the tanks there. And then we see that it's King Caden, yes, Pansy's father there, dropping all of these bombs. He's brought his entire group to sit there and help out Goku in the game. So the tanks try and fire up on King Caden, and he tells them to throw the grenades at them. So what happens is the grenades are thrown at the tank while the tank is shooting King Caden, and they both get hit at the same time. And everybody thinks that King Caden is gone at that point. But lo and behold, King Caden and his crew survived. They're on the ground ready to help out in the fight. And it's at that point that everybody gets emboldened and they begin to cut loose. And we see everyone in King Caden's group just charge at the Gendarmerie, and Goku tells Piccolo and Vegeta to do the same. So we see this entire sequence of King Caden's group and Goku and Vegeta and Piccolo just fighting the Gendarmerie, and it's nice to see this. And we even see King Caden getting in on the action because he gets to the point where he punches this one Gendarmerie guard and it caves his entire face in. Like, you can literally see this man's face just caved, and it's crazy. Then Goku pops up behind him. He's like, not bad. And then we get a nice little father-daughter pan where we see Pansy and King Caden sitting there beating up some Gendarmerie guards. I thought that was real nice and a nice little touch. So again, the group continues to try and take out the Gender Marie guards. And like I said earlier, they do an amazing job. And last but not least, Goku comes in, he turns Super Saiyan, and he knocks out pretty much the rest of the Gender Marie guard. He goes off. And you can sit there and think, why not have done this in the beginning? But remember, their entire goal is to come here and defeat the Tamagami, or what they think that's their goal, because obviously Arentu has already taken the Dragon Ball. But they needed to save their energy, so that's the reason why they didn't pull out their most powerful transformations to just end this quickly, because again, they have to save their energy, and they only have so many revive bugs or whatnot, so they just can't just go all out and just use revive, because what happened if they needed it for something else? But like I said, when Goku went Super Saiyan, he took out the rest of the Gender Marie guard, and Goma is just sitting there thinking that, how are they doing this? This is impossible. And obviously Dagetsu, as I said earlier, is scheming something, because you can see it on his face. But he comes up and tells Goma that they still have the Gender Marie force, the little Ginyu force from the Demon World there. And Goma's like, you're right, we definitely do. But again, as I said, we can see it in Dagetsu's eyes that he is planning something on his own. But back with Goku and the rest of the group, they're happy that everything went okay. They're thanking King Caden for coming and helping them out, and that's how the episode ends. I did definitely enjoy this episode. Again, the only issue that I necessarily had with it was the fact that the bit of the lore about the third eye was just kind of thrown right in the middle of the episode, and I didn't necessarily like how it was just forced onto us. I feel as if it could have meshed a little bit better throughout the episode if they just spliced it in with some of Goma's telling about the third eye, or at their very least had Goma tell the story, but they didn't. But outside of that, I enjoyed all of the action. Again, I felt as if it was an amazing callback to the Red Ribbon Army arc of OG Dragon Ball. I know a lot of people haven't seen OG Dragon Ball, but I assure you, if you go back and watch it, you'll love Dragon Ball, especially the Red Ribbon Army arc, because you'll see how nostalgic it is. You'll see how much this episode called back to that. But I want to hear what you thought about this episode. Let me know in the comment section how you enjoyed episode 15 of Dragon Ball Daima. Let me know in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this review, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to receive notifications, so that way you know every time I happen to upload a new video. And if you want to follow me on all my socials and keep up with everything that I got going on, see some of my short form content, be sure to follow me on everything. That is at Nerdstorm92 on all socials. You can find links to every single one of them down in the description below. And I also live stream on Twitch almost every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So go ahead and hit that follow button on Twitch, so that way we can sit here and chat live. That is twitch.tv/Nerdstorm92. And again, that is linked in the description as well. And with that being said, I will catch y'all in the next Dragon Ball Daima review video. So y'all continue to have a great rest of your day. Peace.